Oh, hi everyone. Today, welcome to my new podcast. My first guest, I've got Yusuf, Boro's best voted fan for the 1920 season. How's lockdown been for you?
Hi, Peter. Thanks for having me. Lockdown's been all right, most important thing is being safe and making sure that you're, safe physically as well as mentally. And I feel I've been obviously trying to do that as much as possible. And yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things that, what can you do apart from look after yourself and stay healthy? It's difficult for everyone in the country. So I'm just fortunate and happy and grateful that I'm not struggling as much as other people.
Exactly. I think we're in a good position because we've all got our health, and at least we've now got the football we can watch on the TV, which is an escapism which we all need. And unlike the first one, clubs know how to keep officials, managers, staff, players all safe now. So at least that's good. And although we'd like to be in the stands cheering on our team, at least we've got it to watch.
Exactly, that was the problem with the first lockdown because everything stopped, every sort of form of escapism, whereas now we can at least watch it on TV, we can talk to our friends and family about it, just to, run, complain, look forward to signings, and obviously, being Boro fans, we haven't really had much to complain about. And the only disappointment, I suppose, of this season is we haven't really been there to see the successes. I mean, just imagine us being in some of the, the stadium to see us, beat Swansea at home, one of the best teams in the league, and beating Forest with a late goal and stuff like that. It's just one of those things that you just kind of scratch your head and you think, oh, if only we were there instead of losing 4-1 at home to Sheffield Wednesday at home and stuff like that, which we saw last year. So that's the only disappointment, but I can't complain because there's nothing compared to what other people are facing.
And we just have to think at least one day, it's going to be this year, I reckon. New season will definitely, some fans will definitely be back.
Hopefully, and this disappointment was that the fact a small amount of fans were allowed for the Bournemouth game. There's like 1,000 fans in, and the club was spot on. They followed all the protocols, which everyone, if you go to a shop, with hand sanitising, wearing the face masks, and stuff like that, and the 2 metre distancing, and the club did absolutely brilliantly. And then a few days later, the government announced that they weren't going to be doing that anymore. So that was really, really disappointing. And I just feel sorry for Neil Warnock because he hasn't seen a Borough supporter, in the stands yet. So that's another disappointment. But like you said, I really, really hope for the new season in August there'll be a few fans, even if it's a couple thousand fans, and then gradually increase. Whether that's going to be in the Championship next season or the Premier League, which I still have hope for. Who knows?
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Exactly, anything's possible, especially with the signing of Yannick Bolasie, which is an exciting signing. I can't remember the last time I was excited about a signing like that because he's a very special player.
We'll definitely get on to him later, but first of all, Yusuf,
Of course.
if people don't know you, you are a Londoner, and I know it's a frequently asked question, but I have to kick this podcast off. How did you become to support Boro?
Yeah, like you said, it's a question that I get asked literally all the time. Every game I go to practically is the first thing people notice, my London accent. But yeah, I mean, it's quite it's a story. It's not one of the stories where I was born in Boro or I've got family in Boro. I've literally got no connection with Boro at all. I don't know anyone from the town. And literally, the reason why is because I was born in London and I live in Wembley. And my first football memory was Euro 96. And it's incredible because that was where Euro 96 European Championship was actually in London. It was in Wembley. And all the England games was at Wembley. And my first football memory was England against Scotland. And I remember at the time, the area was just buzzing. I didn't go to the game, but they were giving out free hats and free merchandise to everyone in my estate. And I just remember the area was just had that extra buzz, that football's coming home buzz.
Yeah.
And it was just incredible. And then I remember watching the game on TV, and obviously England 1-2-1, and that was obviously brilliant. And then the following season was the 96-97 season, and the opening day there was one scoreline that kind of caught my attention, and it was Middlesbrough 3, Liverpool 3, and Ravanelli got a hat trick. And I wasn't at the game, but I just saw it much today. I saw the highlights, and I just remember seeing Ravanelli, this guy scored a hat trick putting his t-shirt over his head. He had this grey hair. I heard the club Middlesbrough, thinking Middlesbrough, and literally from that moment, I fell in love with the club, and the rest is history. And it's not your typical story. Most people, when they support a club, they know people from that town, or they might have been born there or whatever. But with me, it's by luck. It could have been any team, but it happened to be Middlesbrough.
And as well, what a season to start supporting them as well, because although we went down that season, it was deemed as one of the best seasons of football we've had.
Yeah, I mean, I was still quite young at the time, so I didn't quite comprehend the relegation, but I do remember the FA Cup final, because we went to the FA Cup final that season, and I remember we obviously played against Chelsea. I remember walking around the area. Again, I didn't go to the game because I was only young, but I remember walking around the area, and we have like an Argos near where we live. And I remember on the day pre-match, Argos, at the front of the Argos store, there's all these TVs that they sell, and I remember just seeing because there's what the BBC do is they have like the FA Cup build up from early in the morning, and I remember seeing them interviewing Emerson, and it was on all these TVs. I just remember seeing that, and I remember seeing all the Boro fans all around Wembley, and it was just it was really, really special time. And like you said, we had a lot of special players, and I don't remember too much about the relegation stuff, but I do remember like the Janinios and the Emersons and the Samba and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that definitely caught my attention, and I was gutted. I remember we lost against Chelsea. I was gutted, and I remember I was only little, so I remember saying to one of my brothers, I support Chelsea now. I don't support them. And they just convinced me to say, forget that, don't say that, And then obviously, because I was only little, I didn't know much about football, and luckily, I stayed. Funnily enough, like when Mourinho became the manager of Chelsea a few years later, if you became a Chelsea fan, you would have had all the success. But I said to myself, I wouldn't swap any of the successes of your Chelsea's, Man United's, Liverpool's for Middlesbrough, because no matter what, like it's unique to be a Boro fan. Like what we see is like, we're not the best team in the world, but it's entertaining, and we've had some of the most entertaining moments. So I wouldn't change it for any other club. I really wouldn't.
I think obviously you've got the big clubs. I have loyalties to Arsenal as well, because my dad supported them from a young age. But I think with the big teams, you have fans all over the country. But I think when your team's in the Championship, there's some sort of affection, because it's everyone from the local area, and it's like a community all of a sudden. And it's like everyone goes to the games who supports a team, and it's just different to supporting a big team, because you have like your fans all around the country, but with a Championship club, it's like all in that area.
No, exactly. And to me, it's not even about winning all the time. I sometimes look at all the complaints of the Man United and the Arsenal and the Chelsea, and even this season, Liverpool have one good season, and now a lot of fans say, clock out and stuff like that. And I just think, I just don't understand. They don't understand. Look at Sunderland, look at Bolton, teams that were in the Premier League a few years ago, and they're like struggling in the lower sort of leagues and stuff. That's real problems, rather than struggling to win one football match or not get into the top four for one season. So I personally could never support one of those clubs, because it's not just about winning. It's like you said, it's a community. Go to the match that I go to, we talk about lots of stuff, and when I go to matches, obviously a win would be a bonus, but it's a real
the day out.
The day out, exactly. It's a belonging, and it's just brilliant. Whether it's a home game or an away game, it's amazing, and everyone comes together, and whatever problems you have, you can forget about, and you can focus on the Boro that day, and that's the most important thing, because like if you've got personal problems or whatever, work problems or school problems or whatever it is, you can forget about it, and it doesn't matter how old you are, how tall you are, the colour of your hair, colour of your skin, colour of your eyes, whether you're short, whether you're tall, whether you're big, whether you're small, don't matter. You're all Boro fans, and at the end of the day, we all want the same thing, and that's the amazing thing about the club and the fan base.
I totally agree with you, Yusuf, and obviously Boro, I think we've probably only got you as a fan down south, to my knowledge. But if you look at Man United, they have about 100 fans in London, and you just think that...
Well, to be fair, there's quite a few fans, Boro fans down south for work purposes and stuff like that. But obviously, a lot of them, like their families originally moved down to the south for work reasons or stuff like that. But like obviously, Man United fans being all over London, and to be fair, when I was at school, a lot of my friends were Man United fans, and like they have no connection with the club or the area, and the reason why they supported it was because they were winning stuff all the time. I couldn't really go and say to them, "Well, you've never been to a game, or you're not from the area and stuff," because at the time, I wasn't from the area, so I couldn't really have a go at them for that. But the difference was, I wasn't supporting the club because of success. I was supporting the club because I love the club, and obviously you see all these fans, and often they change clubs as well. 1 minute they're a Man United fan, and they become a Chelsea fan overnight and stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, it's almost like glory time to some of them. But then again, it's football, different people have different reasons for supporting their club. But I'm just grateful that I support Middlesbrough.
Yeah, I can actually recall the first time we seen each other. I think it was we were in the Premier League that season. It was Man City, but it was in the FA Cup. And I remember, I can't actually remember which player you were chanting for, but
Bamford. We love you, Bamford.
Yeah, that was it. I think it was your afro at the time.
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that day. Yeah, I mean, that was the day that I first had had my interest in the because obviously we've met up quite a few times where I meet up after matches to see the players get autographs, selfies and stuff. That was the first time that I obviously did that. And the reason why I started doing that was that game was because my train ticket, I booked it like 2 hours after kickoff, 2.5 hours kickoff, because I thought the match was going to go to extra time. I thought it was going to go to penalties. I left a bit of time so I can celebrate, because in my mind I thought this is going to be a special day. But we ended up losing the game. I think it was 2-0. It was a terrible performance. So I thought to myself, I've got 2.5 hours until my train. The train station's only a 15-minute walk. What am I going to do? So literally, I remember just hanging around the stadium, and I saw the Man City coach when I left the ground. So I thought, okay, let me wait for the Man City players. And as I was waiting, I could just see over the corner of my eye, really just said, walking around, taking selfies with the fans. So obviously my reaction was, forget about this Man City players, let me go to the Boro players. I went over and obviously took a photo with Justin, which is great, and then a few other Boro players came over, took selfies with them. And since that moment, it's something that I've almost been a ritual. I've been doing that quite regularly, like nearly every game that I go to. I do that, and obviously a lot of the players know my name and know my face, and probably the reason why the club was so successful this season is they don't have to see my annoying face after the matches and stuff. They can just focus on, don't worry about getting a selfie with that lunatic. They can just focus on winning the games and stuff. So, but yeah, that's the story of why I started, meeting up with the players and stuff after the games. So yeah,
but
that's an exclusive for you.
I'm sure Yusuf, that Warnock will be dying to see you when we can.
Well, I've spoken to him on Zoom actually, funnily enough, a few weeks back, because they invited a few Boro fans to speak to the manager, and I thought I was only going to ask him one question, but I ended up talking to him for over 10 minutes. So and it was great because it was talking to him as if he's your mate, and a bit like how we're talking now. Normally, when you think about the manager and stuff, and the players and stuff, they talk to you like previous managers and stuff. They'll talk to you like robotic, and they'll give the same old cliched answers. But I gave him a straight question, he gave me a straight answer. There was no beating around the bush, and I think he's just been a real breath of fresh air. So I have to say credit to Neil Warnock. He's really united the fan base together.
Coming on to this season and Warnock, I'm going to ask you now, how do you think the season's gone under Warnock so far, and how do you think we've improved since last season under Woodgate?
I mean, we've massively overachieved. I think everyone can see that. I mean, what he's done with some of those players, they're like brand new players. I mean, Dykstil and Mark Bola. If you told the Boro fans 12 months ago they would be two of the first names in the team sheet, you'd be laughed at. You'd be called deluded.
I'll just have to input there a minute, because in the summer actually, when me and my dad were talking about the new season and how we're going to line up, we literally just laughed and said, "Oh God, I hope we don't have Bowler and Brown in the team again." And then Bowler is getting voted in Team of the Weeks, and Brown, it's unlucky for him because he has shown promising signs. And then another one, Dick Steele, he's become one of our best players.
Exactly, and it just goes to show what man management could do with a bit of confidence. And you've got to remember all three players came from the lower league, so and they all came from down south. Obviously Mark Bowler's originally from the Arsenal academy, so he's a Londoner. That still is. He's from Holland, but he played for Charlton. He's been at Charlton for like 5 years. And Marcus Brown was from West Ham, and obviously he was at Oxford, I think, as well, on loan. So, I mean, they're all from down south, they're all young lads from lower leagues. So, to move up north, to play in the Championship physical league with an inexperienced manager, just asking a lot. Whereas I think Warnock's made things very simple. He's got them so confident, and it's just like they're brand new players. And like I said, like no one would have expected them to be as useful. I mean, Marcus Brown's been unfortunate because just as he's doing well, he got injured. Second time that happened, just before his first injury, he was doing really well, then he got injured. And now he's scored and he played really well, and again got another injury. So that's just desperately disappointing for him. But he's done so well with Bola, with Dykstra, like I said, but also Del Fry. He was criticised severely last season, which was unfortunate. I always thought with Del Fry, like there should be some perspective with Del, because for me he's an unbelievable centre half. He's only 22, 23, and
still young.
Last season. He's still young, and he was playing in a defence with 80 players behind him his first ever season. Good goalkeeper, but he's inexperienced. He had two midfielders alongside him in Paddy McNair and Johnny Arson. He had Jed Spence and Hayden Colton as the two wing-backs, inexperienced. So he was like the most experienced in that back line as a defender.
And as we see, still only 22. So, like you say, it's a lot of pressure.
Exactly. Whereas this season, he's got obviously McNair and Bowler and Dykstra, the full-back connection, Bettinelli behind them. And I think, Warnock's man management's really helped them. I think one of his early games of the season, he said in his press conference, Warnock said that all the players in the dressing room gave Del Fry a round of applause when he went into the dressing room. Small little thing like that. They may seem little to us as fans, but I think that it can make a huge difference to the players, that's for sure.
With giving them a confidence boost as well, especially. I now have to ask you, Yusuf. This lad, I've been really impressed with, Duncan Watmore. Obviously, he's had an absolutely torrid time throughout his career at Sunderland. 2 ACL injuries. He's come in, he's scored 5 goals so far. Our top scorer this season. How do you think it was important that we did tie him down to a new deal and that he did sign one?
It was massive because I think when he first came, just like a lot of fans, there was question marks. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I was one of the first to kind of say he hasn't really played much. He's had a lot of injuries. What's the point? I'd rather just keep faith with the players that we've got. But yeah, again, he's proven me wrong. And I thought it was one of those where it was a win-win situation because we only had him for a short-term deal, like 6 weeks or something. But the fact was, it was important that we got him for the at least for the rest of the season. I think he's been given a 2-year deal, 2.5-year deal. That was massive because, like you said, he's our top goal scorer, and it's crazy to think that he scored more than the likes of Chubarakpom, who's cost $3 million or whatever, and from a Champions League club, and he scored more than Britt, and he scored more than like our attacking midfielders like Tab and stuff like that. He's done really, really well, and he's worked exceptionally hard. And even yesterday, I know we lost 3-0 against Rotherham, but our best chance was a little run that he had, a little jogging run, and he made something out of nothing. And you're thinking to yourself, what other player on that pitch would have done that? Yeah, possibly Patrick Roberts, but Duncan Watmore's has got that something about him, but we've got to look after him because with his injury. So we've got to not overwork him because we've got a game Saturday, Wednesday. So I think it's important that after maybe 70 minutes we do take him off and rest him. And obviously bringing in Bolasie now, I think it'll give him a chance to maybe rest some of the games as well because it's asking a lot to play every single week. But now I think he's been vital for us. For sure.
And we do get into busy spells of the season now, don't we? Like with a lot of Tuesday night games. As we get towards the end of the season, I think you're right there. And as we're on to it, I'll now ask you, today, or whenever this is uploaded, maybe 3 days ago, we've signed Yannick Bolasie. So, how do you think he's going to cope, and what do you think of his signing? Because I remember him watching him at Crystal Palace in his best years, and I thought he was fantastic, and he ended up moving to Everton for 20 million, but he's just had bad injuries. But at Palace, he was fantastic.
Spot on. I mean, he is a player which is a unique footballer. We don't really see so much footballers like that where they actually play football because they love it. He genuinely looks like he loves it. He's like a kid, just doing tricks, not thinking about tactic, not thinking about tracking back, not thinking about all the nitty gritty stuff. He just enjoys entertaining, and that's what he is. He's an entertainer, and I think Noah Warnock got the best out of him at Palace, where he started to add goals to his game. Because I think he had an interview recently, Bolasie, where he said before Warnock came as Crystal Palace manager, he wasn't looking at goals, assists. He just thought about entertaining. But Warnock started to give him like tips to score goals and end product. Because essentially, if you are an attacking player, you're expected to score. And he's just been I think he will turn out to be a really, really good signing. And I can't remember the last time I was this excited about a player, because he's a special, special player. And on his day, he should be one of the best players in this division. People are going to say he's a mercenary, if that's the word. Can't pronounce that word, but you know what I mean. You know the word. Yeah, and stuff like that, and interesting money and stuff like that. But I think he will turn out to be a really, really good player. And I think the important thing as well is we need him. We haven't got a player like him. His pace, his trickery. As a wide player, we haven't got that type of player, and I think he's going to be vital for us this season.
I've thought for seasons now that we've needed that player that has pace, skill, that player that's almost a match winner really. He's that winger we've needed for years, and I'm glad we've got the signing across, and I'm looking forward to seeing him play.
But a few other wingers, I think we had Jack Harrison on loan for a bit, but we never really played Jack Harrison. We had Van La Parra on loan, again, we never really played him. Then Tav started to play out wide, but then he's been playing a lot more centrally this season. Marvin Johnson came as a winger, but now he's been playing a lot as a left back and stuff like that. So we haven't really had a winger, So Patrick Roberts has been playing out wide, but I think he's better as a number 10. Duncan Watmore's playing out wide, but he's more of a number 10 striker, I think. So Bolasie's actually someone who likes to get the ball, stay wide, and give us that little pace, trickery, and hopefully be that match winner that we desperately need. Make something out of nothing. There's too many times where we've got the ball and we'll hit it sideways because we haven't got no outlet. But sometimes we just need to give the ball to him and just let him run, attack his fullback, and then that will create space for your George Savills, your midfield runners like George Saville and Tavernier, and give Britt more opportunities. Because if we're not attacking,
then
their defenders are going to mark Britt, and then Britt can't really do much. I know a lot of people criticise Britt. I like Britt. I just think we're not playing to his strengths. But I think bringing in Bolasie is going to get more goals for Britt. It's going to get more goals for Saville. It's going to get more goals for Tav. It's going to get, It's going to give more opportunities for attacking and creative players. So I'm really, really excited to see what he can offer.
So Yusuf, my next question is for you. What is your favourite Boro memory from your time supporting the club?
There's obviously been a few. There's two that sort of stand out. Obviously, the Steaua Bucharest game was incredible. I mean, Basel game and the Steaua Bucharest where we with 3-0 down and won 4-3. That whole European run was special. But the Steaua game, because it happened the second time, they're thinking, what? But the top one's probably the Carling Cup final in 2004, the first trophy. And I remember I went to the shop the next day and I bought, I think it was the Daily Mirror newspaper, because it's like the first time that Boro were on the back page. And I don't know where the copy of the back page is, but I remember just there was a picture of Southgate with the Carling Cup lifting it up like that. And I bought it, and I don't know where it is now. Because I originally bought it to keep it as a memento and stuff. Because unfortunately I couldn't make the game because I was at school at the time. But yeah, I mean that the first trophy in 128 years I think it was at the time. It was just brilliant achievement and a special day. And I just hope we have more success moments like that. But yeah, winning the Carling Cup, was probably my favourite ever moment.
With Ekiog and Southgate at the back as well, it didn't get any better really.
Yeah, they're absolutely. They complemented each other really well. Ekiog was the brick at the back, and Southgate was the leader and really good tackler, and I thought it was a perfect partnership. But the whole team was really good. You know what I mean? We had a really strong team and hard-working team, and Mark Schwarzer in goal helped as well. Made some important saves. I know he made a mistake for their goal in the final, but he also made some really good saves. And defensively was really good. But we also had defensive players that could, do something in the final third. The likes of Zenden and players like that who could make an impact. That was obviously great for us.
Certainly. I now have to move back to, fast forward in a lot of years again, back to this season.
Sure, yeah.
As we are now the 28th of January as we speak, and we've got about 4 or 5 days left before deadline day. Is there anything else you'd like to see us bring in before the window shuts? Do you think there's any positions that we could do with a bit of depth or strengthening if we are to push for the playoffs?
Well, I think we've had the bid accepted for the Preston defender Darnell Fisher. I don't know if you've seen that. Yeah, 300k. He's the Preston player that I think squeezed the opposition's balls in the game.
I've certainly seen that one. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what he's probably most well known for, rather than his defending or whatnot. Because, but I don't know much about him. But we had a bid accepted supposedly for 300k. So I think Dykesdale's injured. He's had a little operation. And we've only got Jed Spence as our only right back at the moment. So if Jed got injured or if Jed got tired, then we obviously got another option there. Who else? I think we probably need another creative player. I know we've been talking about having. I think defensively, when everyone's fit, defensively, I think we've got a good defence. Our problem is offensively, we need to have more options. Because I think when we went 1-0 down against Rotherham, we didn't really know what to do. We went 1-0 down against Birmingham, we didn't really know what to do. 1-0 down against Blackburn, we didn't know really what to do. I know against Rotherham, we went 1-0 down, we started to put on a lot of attackers and push men forward, and then we ended up conceding 2 and 3 goals and ended up being empowering. But sometimes you've got to take risks. You can't keep, being organised, playing 4-5-1 and lose the game 1-0. I believe if you're going to lose the game, at least go, lose by going down fighting, putting players forward. And yeah, you should never be losing 3-0 against Rotherham, but at least we tried to give it a go, and we have to obviously respond. But I still think we need another creative, number 10, someone just to give us that options. I'm quite happy with our strikers. I think in terms of championship level, Brett, Fletcher, and Akpom are some, 3 very good strikers. Because Fletcher's going to be like a brand new signing for us. So I'd like to see another creative number 10 come in, but who that will be, I'm not quite sure. But somebody would be good. And Darnell Fisher as well, it looks like he's coming in. But yeah, just one more creative player. At the same time, never say never for any other position, because if there's a player out there that's better than what we've got, then we've got to go for them. There's no point in saying, we're not going to go for that player because we've got this player, we've got that player. But I think we've been linked with Billy Gilmour from Chelsea, which if we signed that's almost impossible. Because I think if I was a Premier League manager, I'd be going for him. I was just going to mention to you, have you heard about that one? Because last season under Frank Lampard, he got some game time, and he was fantastic. He was massively praised. Massively. So I mean, if he's available, then I know we've got Wolsey, Howson and Saville that are doing really well, but he's very different to what they can offer. So I would get him every day of the week, and I'll start him every single minute, every single game.
Yeah.
He's a special player, and he'll only get better and better. I know he's only like 19, 20, but this guy, honestly, if I was a Premier League manager, like a Palace manager or a Newcastle manager or whatever, I'd go for him, because I honestly think he's a Premier League player.
I am going off topic from Boro and going on to Chelsea. I mean, obviously, we know what's happened with Frank Lampard, and last season when he had a transfer ban, he brought the young lads in, and they sort of gelled well with Lampard. But now with the new manager Tuchel, it doesn't look like he's going to be as involved as much with the young lads, because I know he came in yesterday and dropped Abraham Mount and James. So does that make you think that more of them might, well, obviously not them ones because they've proven themselves now, but more lads like Billy Gilmour or them now Frank Lampard's gone, does that make you think they're going to be more available as this new manager might not play them as much?
Possibly. I mean, I think it just speaks volumes that the first thing that the new manager did was put Reece James, Mason Mount and Tammy Abraham on the bench. I think that's almost like a message to basically say that this ain't the Frank Lampard moment anymore. If you put maybe one of them on the bench, fair enough, putting Tammy Abraham on the bench because they've got Olivier Giroud, who has done really, really well when he's played. And Reece James, I mean, I think he's been one of their best players this season, whereas Aspilicueta hasn't really performed. So I'm not quite sure about that. Mason Mount sort of struggled a little bit as well. So, but to drop all three is, for me, it speaks a bit volumes that that's the first thing that he pretty much did. From Mason Mount being captain in the weekend to being on the bench is one thing. But I think he's obviously a German manager, so he's probably going to play Kai Havertz and Timo Werner and players like that, and give them more opportunity. And people like Pulisic, who was at Dortmund, I know he's American, but he probably knows him from Dortmund. That probably give the bigger players. But then again, he started Hudson-Odoi as well yesterday, so that is one academy player I suppose he started, which was something. But it's tricky. I mean, who would be a Chelsea manager? Because it's like he's trying to, Lampard's trying to give youth opportunity, but they don't have patience. And I personally think they would have finished fourth. I mean, look at Arsenal a few weeks ago. Arsenal were in a relegation battle. You had Roy Keane talking about them being a relegation battle, and Sam Allardyce talking pre-match West Brom against Arsenal, saying, "Oh, this is a relegation battle game." And then, look at them. They've got a really, really good run of form, and now they're a few points off top four. So anything can happen.
Exactly, and as part Arsenal myself, I was thinking at the time, do we get rid of Arteta? Do we stick with him? But I'm glad they've given him the time now, because it just goes to show with Man United as well. Because how many times has Ollie had his job under pressure, and now the 1 point off Man City were top. So it's all about time, I think.
100%. And I mean, Ole's probably very, very lucky, because I think he could have got sacked on numerous occasions. Because Arteta's different, because obviously Arteta's only been there just over a year. Lampard's only been 18 months, but I think Solskjaer's been there for over 2 years, and there's been many opportunities where he could have got sacked, many moments that he could have got sacked. So he's probably a little bit more fortunate, but they've kept pace with him. And like you said, he's so close to being top of the table. And I think this season as well, it's a unique season. Anyone can win the league. You know what I mean? A lot of people saying when Leicester won it, people say, oh, that's never going to happen again. Leicester have got as much of a chance of winning the league this year as Chelsea or Liverpool or any of these teams. In fact, they've got a better chance than Chelsea. They've got a better chance than Arsenal, because they've actually got a team and they've got a really, really good tactical manager. The question mark for Leicester would be if they've got 1 or 2 injuries to key players. I know Vardy's now out for a few weeks. How will they cope with that? That is probably the difference. Whereas I think Arsenal, if they had a couple of injuries, they've got your Sakas and, Emil Smith-Rowe, who you're seeing into the starting 11, starting to show what they can do. They've got some good backups and good backups of backups coming through, whereas Leicester, I'm not quite sure about their squad. That's the only thing that's holding them back. If James Maddison got injured, you'd wonder, how much they would struggle with that. So only time will tell.
I think in every league this season we basically see it's some people will argue with me on this, but I don't think home advantage matters anymore, because I think if you look at Boro again, 3-0 at home to Rotherham, you'd never have thought that with... Maybe if there was fans in, we still might have got beat 1-0, maybe it's a drew 0-0, but you'd never have thought it would have been 3-0.
No, exactly. And that's one of the things that I've noticed is the difference. Because I mean, there's certain games that I mean, last season we went to I think Millwall, and we won there under Warnock, and I thought to myself, if that was with fans, it's an intimidating atmosphere in Millwall. You know what they're like. Would we have won there? Do you know what I mean? There's certain away games where it is intimidating. The fans are loud, the fans are aggressive, and they're tough games. But when there's no fans, they haven't got that advantage. It's the same as Anfield now. You haven't got You Never Walk Alone. I know, play it, You Never Walk Alone, but it's only a pre-recorded version of it. It's not the fans singing it. You don't have the fans with the scarves holding and stuff like that. It's not the same as even like I sometimes think about the Riverside. Normally you've got a pig bag, and as soon as the first whistle goes, you hear the Red Faction drum go, and then you sit here and follow, and stuff like that can give the team a boost, but it can also make the opposition, struggle a little bit, because it's like the fan base can massively help. Although, having said that, last season our home form was dreadful, so it didn't really help us, to be fair. But I totally agree. I think it doesn't make a difference whether you're home or away. The fact that there's no fans in the stadium, it means it's equal level playing field for sure.
Finally, Yusuf, before I let you go, I'd just like to thank you for doing this. And the final question I'd like to ask you is, 2021, as a Boro fan, what would you like to achieve, and what are you looking forward to this year as a whole, as a fan?
I think just more progression. Just carry on seeing the progression that we're seeing. See a bit more entertaining football. See a few more goals scored. See a few more academy players given opportunities, because we've got some really good young players coming through. I've been really impressed with Nathan Wood. I know he struggled against Blackburn, I thought, on Sunday, but yesterday I thought I say yesterday, this is going out on the weekend, but the game against Rotherham, he was much better. He made a slide tackle, which is excellent. So hopefully he gets more of an opportunity. Hayden Hackney, hopefully he gets more of an opportunity. We've got a few lads out on loan, like Roman Barrell, who has been scoring plenty of goals for under-23s. Hopefully he gets an opportunity. You've got the likes of Sam Folarin and Isaiah Jones, who they might go out on loan. Hopefully they get an opportunity, because we've got a really, really good academy, and I'd love to see more players from our academy being given an opportunity. And we've got to remember the type of club that we are is we have to look at a club like Southampton, in the sense that over the years they've produced really good players, but then they've sold them for big amounts, and then they've bought players for small amounts, but then sell them for big amounts. And it's just about being really, really clever, and that's the next thing we have to do. We have to buy players, and we bought Dyke still for 2 million or something. Hopefully he's going to be, when we sell him in a year or 2 years' time, we sell him for 8-9 million, make a big profit.
Yeah.
Same with Mark Bowler, same with Del Fry Academy prospect. I'm realistic. They're not going to stay here forever, but when they do leave, I hope that we do sell them for a big profit. You know what I mean? And that's the standard that we should be setting. And then we can think about using the next process. So when Del Fry does go, Nathan Wood will be ready to step in. And then Nathan Wood, when he goes, we've got the next batch coming through. And just keep recycling. Go out, sign players for cheap, sell them for a big amount. Marcus Brown, we bought him for £300,000 or something.
Because,
that's a bargain. So I think just keep on recruiting, recruit well, buy good young players, sell them for big amounts, and just continue this model. And like I said, Southampton has really, really worked with them. You've seen them do it with their academy players like Adam Lallana, that was from their academy, and they sold them to Liverpool. They had Callum Chambers, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. You obviously know both of them. As an Arsenal fan, they both went to Arsenal. Theo Walcott, loads of players over the years. They brought in Mane and Virgil van Dijk and sold them for huge amounts. So that's the kind of things, recruitment I think we have to be aiming to do, clever recruitment, but also using our academy, and then hopefully it will help us massively. And fingers crossed, promotion is
yeah.
But if we don't get promoted this season, I think next year it would be the aim, and hopefully fans back in the ground, just so we can say thank you to Neil Warnock and thank you to the players, and yeah, just really, really looking forward to 2021.
Anyway, Yusuf, I hope I'll be able to see you back in the stand at the end of this year for next season, probably now. But I'd like to say thank you for doing this, and thank you to everyone who's listened, and join me next week for another guest. Thank you, guys. See you later. Bye.